have been listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano, airing live every Wednesday and Thursday evening, 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 to 10 p.m. Central, on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Welcome to the Outer Realm Wednesday night show. And that was a big faux pas. I think I just played the outro. I'm just having one of those days. Anyway, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Wednesday night segment here on the Outer Realm. We are broadcasting live on International Public Radio and United Public Radio Network 105.3 FM from New Orleans. We are fully sponsored by the amazing folks over at Folgers Coffee and Dr. Snick, aka Justin Snicker, for his contribution to the intro and the outro. He is an award-winning composer of Halloween, horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music, which can be found on Bandcamp, of course, Spotify, iTunes, you name it, it's there. You can find him. So tonight we welcome for the very first time wonderful person who I'm happy to call friend, Michelle Freed, to the show. And she's going to be discussing remote viewing, hypnosis, all kinds of fun stuff. She's just really wonderful. So head on over to our YouTube pages. I believe this evening we are going to be on UFO Paranormal and International Public Radio. And of course, we're going to be on all of our Facebook platforms, including The Outer Realm and Canada's Most Haunted, Michelle DeRoche, and Twitch, of course. So you can find us on about 8 different platforms. So settle yourselves on in and get ready for a great show. And hello, Bubbles.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, you know, having one of those days.
I didn't even realize when you said outro because I was writing, so I wasn't listening.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh
that's
my
great,
god! And I just noticed my lamp is clipped right where the chat room is. Really? You sure it's not Monday?
I don't know. I just really I'm having a day. I'm having a day.
Me too. I have 2 pairs of glasses on my head. That works. Yep.
Okay. So I will keep you up with the chat room because I can see, you know, all different ones.
I can see them. I just noticed part of it, but I can just scroll up. I just can't type, but I can see it. Yeah. Okay. As long as I don't have my glasses on. That was the mistake that I made.
I'll highlight it and get going.
Low blood sugar, people. Low blood sugar.
Not good. Not good. All right.
You know it messes with your vision.
That's called age.
Low blood sugar. Both together.
From me, though.
No, it's age. It's age. It's both together.
All right. Are we going to? I see our guest is waiting.
So I can't see. I'm sorry. I can't see the speaking of
thing again. Yeah.
No, I can't see the bottom here on this link. Okay, I can't see the bottom. That's why.
Do you want to do it?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. I can't see that she was in the green room. My apologies, Michelle. Oh my goodness. I keep forgetting. Okay. A graduate of the Alternative Practitioner Academy and certified from the National Guild of Hypnotism, completed all levels of training and at the International School of Clairvoyance, a talented remote viewer and instructor, certified and received additional training from Joe McMoneagle. a member of the International Remote Viewing Association. What's so funny?
I see her. Go ahead, cut it anytime you want. We know it's a long one, Michelle.
I'm
we know.
there. I didn't do it verbatim. Trust me. Everybody can go check that on Facebook. But let me just end this off. A member of the International Remote Viewing Association, has that's RVA for those of you who don't know, and has published research related to remote viewing and parapsychology. Michelle is in the documentary Third Eye Spies and has appeared on an episode of Ancient Aliens. Co-owner of Midnight FM Network. Please welcome Michelle Freed. I cut it. I'm telling you, I cut it.
It's really long.
We need a second episode if I was reading all your credentials, which are fascinating and amazing, by the way. But we do have them all listed on our Facebook group page because we like our listeners to be able to learn and read more about our guests. But welcome.
Hello, Michelle.
Ladies. The day before Thanksgiving, and we're just gonna chat.
We are. Yeah. We are.
Well, nothing serious.
No, we're really laid back. I'm sure you know. Yeah. So, it's just a lot of fun.
Hi, Janie.
It's very, hi, Janie. Hi, Tamara. I think Michelle's in there too.
Hi,
so,
Michelle.
Hey.
Yes.
Yeah. So, how are you?
Oh, good. I'm doing great. Just, I'm in Chicago, and the weather is adjusting, getting a little cold. So that's a big adjustment. And
especially in Chicago, the windy city.
Yeah. And it really is windy, but I think that goes back to like the politicians and stuff. So
yeah. Windy in many ways. So wow.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that we finally got you on here. It's been a while. I mean, you're always, sending people, and I'm thinking, God, so it worked out really well. So why don't you just sort of bring everybody else up to speak? Because I know you and love you, of course, and I know lots about you. So why don't you maybe start off with humble beginnings and, RVing, and is this something learned? Is this something natural for you? And just take it from there, and we'll just follow along.
Okay. Well, the one thing is, Amelia, I looked a little bit about your history, and it looks like you also do remote viewing, right?
Yeah, I never knew I did, though. Nothing like you with all this education. I never knew that I was a remote viewer.
Yeah, I always wonder, and it's a big conversation amongst remote viewers, what we should really call it. Because when I say to people that I remote view, it's, I always have to go, like the military kind, like what they did in the military, which was kind of, I was trained, it wasn't, it's not something that just came to me. It was something that, a lot of people, I assume, like Amelia, would be, something where it happens to you, like, you.
She's a natural.
Get information. Yeah, natural. It's like a download or something.
You're gonna get nothing but bias from Michelle DeRoche. I'm gonna have to give last names tonight, but. Yeah, I had no idea, although, because anything I ever understood, which I'm so glad you're here because you can expand on this, is that a lot of people don't understand even the military remote viewing. They don't understand what that is. And it's funny that you said, that. And I'm like, yeah, I just don't even say it anymore.
Right.
It's like, you're always explaining it to someone who's not in the field. But tell us more about you. I'm excited to hear about it because that is something I've always wanted to learn, was how you went to, took a course and took all the different levels. And this is really serious stuff. Your training is very serious.
Yeah. I mean, so I guess that kind of story starts back in, something like 10 years ago, when I decided to take my kids on a road trip for 2 months. In the summer when they were off school. And we just packed up a tent and just whatever in the back of a minivan. We had our little GPS, and we were just going to travel wherever the GPS tells us to go. And one of the things was reconnecting with my friend from high school, who over the years we kind of went our different ways, and she became an author of 3 books on psychic development, and she also taught classes. Her name is Deborah Lynn Katz. I always have to. She's my bestie.
Nice.
Of course.
So we reconnected, and she said, Michelle, you should take my class. And I'm like, those are for people that were born with it. I don't have that. And she said, yeah, you definitely are intuitive. I'm like, I don't know. All I knew was I could give pretty good advice to friends. That's
We're
pretty much
so much alike. Sorry. Yeah.
And so I'm like, fine. I guess I call myself a skeptical believer. So I walked in like, yeah, all right. I had no idea what to expect. And we had a very small class, and the way she starts a class is even in when you introduce yourself in the beginning, there's not too much information, because she knows as a teacher that she's going to have us practice on each other. So even then we didn't know much. Like, I don't even think I knew where people, because it was online, I didn't know where people were living even. So so when we had our first, where we were reading each other, all of a sudden I started getting information about this guy that wasn't it wasn't favorable. It was really basically saying, because I had this vision of wine bottles, and I felt like he was drinking too much, and stuff like that. And then it turned like he actually had like therapy in our session, where he's like, yeah, I can buy like wine in a box and like drink that in 2 days, and I do have a drinking problem. I'm like, how would I ever know that? And so I would just kind of keep trying to explain it and justify it, and then over time I'm like, I can't anymore. Like something's happening. I don't know what the heck, but something's happening. And the way I'm wired is I want to know how. I want to know the science. I want to know what's happening, what's going on. And so one day, Deborah, the teacher, she taught us really quick and dirty remote viewing things, like just if I'm going to give you a and I want you to just tune in and tell me what you get. So she calls out the number, and the first thing I did was I sneezed. It was like a random, I just achoo, a random sneeze. And I'm like, okay. And then I just started doing my session. I saw, like a garden and flowers and all sorts of things like that. And it turned out that the target was using remote viewing to determine plants that were injected with a virus and plants that were not injected with a virus.
Wow.
And then the third one was just the virus. And so she had the target number of one of the plants, and it turned out that the plant did have a virus, which made sense because I sneezed, which I had a reaction to it. And the fact that I was talking about a garden, but a white picket fence and a garden and a beautiful whatever. So I was like, whoa, I like this. I was like, I felt successful. I felt really connected to it, and I wanted to know more. And then that's what I did. I started taking classes with, I started to learn, which I'll go into now, like what is remote viewing. And it turns out like back in the 1970s and the 70s, there was a military group called Stargate, Project Stargate. Military always has those funky names, and they called this
buzzwords.
Project Stargate. Yeah. And so they got, they started this. They got Russell Targ and Hal Puthoff were they were physicists working on lasers. And I'm not, I never got how they picked them. That's a good question. I'm not sure, but they picked them. And then a psychic, a well-known psychic at the time named Ingo Swann, who has passed now.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I do, yeah.
And so the three of them really, like, they're geniuses. I mean, they came up with this kind of protocol because in the military, everything is protocol. Everything has to be documented. They call, their terminology, like data, collecting data, and they wouldn't use the word psychic. They would say, project your subconscious to a location and describe. And their targets were more intel, getting information about Russia. And there's plenty of, like, people can look online for all the sessions that they have done and the success and things like that. But in the 90s, the project was declassified, and the guys that retired just, because over time that they were doing this, they learned that anybody can remote view if they're taught, and they kind of open up that part of themselves that we don't really use anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And like I always say, it's kind of like, all of us are intuitive. It's like when we were primitive, or, before we had technology, we would, smell the rain coming or the snow coming. We didn't have to look at our weather app to tell us what tomorrow's going to be. And the truth is, which is kind of funny, your weather app is probably, your body is more correct than the weather app, so, you can probably trust your own body more than a weather app.
Absolutely.
So that's, so they started teaching it, and I learned from Joe McMoneagle. I went to the Robert Monroe in where is it? In Vermont, right? No, where is it? Yeah. Where is Robert Monroe? I think it's Vermont.
Vermont?
No, wait.
Or Virginia.
Yes, Virginia. So I went there, and I learned some from Joe. I learned from let's see, Lori Williams, who learned from Lynn Buchanan. But I also learned some stuff from Lynn because I met him, and we learned some stuff. And then the one that really resonated with me was a civilian group that popped up in the 90s and kind of made it more for people, regular people, unmilitary people. And that one I love. And in fact, I've been doing it for so long that I actually teach it now. And we're moving forward with remote viewing. We're engaging. So the way that it was created before was, you sit at a table with your pen and your paper, and you have a monitor, and it's very formal like that. And now we have done so much research and experiments that we're finding that we need to get up our butts out of the seats and experience it, reach out and touch things. And that way you have more of a connection to what your target is. And the premise or the idea of it is that you're given a number and no information. And then you follow the steps. They come in phases. First you do this, then this, then this. And basically you are still using pen and paper, but you're doing all these things to kind of really feel like you're making contact there. And some people have very, clear contact, and it's, just a whole process. So that's like the very outline general idea.
Yeah, because you teach this also.
I am teaching it now because I want everybody in the whole world to be using it. Because there's so much, you don't just need it. I've used it for tons of cool stuff. I mean, we remote viewed the Olympics a year before they happened. I'll tell you about what I got on that, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Missing people, missing animals, missing jewelry. You
Yeah.
can ask questions about yourself. So I've asked, I was moving from Chicago to California, and I did a session on where I'm going to live. And somebody, it's kind of like you don't want to have any knowledge. You want to be blind. So somebody I had a whole stack of targets, and I pulled that target number out, which is associated with the question, so that I can stay blind. And I sketched out like this whole thing. And it's funny because after I do a session like that, it doesn't hit me right away. So I did this session about 6 months before I left. And about 3 months when I was in California, I was like, what was that session I did? I pulled out the session, and the sketch I drew looked exactly like where I was living. I was living in Chino, and it has mountains all around, and it's not near the ocean, but it's near a lake in between, because I had water with 2 mountains, and it looked exactly like, if you kind of took a far view and looked, that's what my picture looked like. I'm like, oh,
That's
okay,
very
there.
cool.
That's cool.
That looks familiar.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It's always
Yeah.
one of those, where did I see that before moments when you're remote viewing.
Like it's aha.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's one of those, where did I see that? I saw that. And sometimes I don't know if you do this. I'm mistaken deja vu and with it, but
Well, that
Oh,
would
like
be
a
good. Why don't you look at the differences between that? Because for someone who's just beginning, or like Amelia may not even know they're doing it, what are the differences?
The differences are that we're doing it the way this is designed is you're doing it as with an intention. And it's like a project is created around it. Like you have a question. So here's another thing you can do where people will use remote viewing to look at the stock market. And you can do like a binary target. So if you want to know if the stock's going to go up or down,
yeah.
or you want to look at a sporting event and you want to know what team's going to win. So actually today we had a project to project into the future till November 24th today to find out if a particular stock was going to go up or down or increase or whatever it is. And so we set that intention and we set up a project about it, and that's pretty much the difference. Other people, I think it's more spontaneous, or like somebody will say to you, can you tune in to the stock, or can just for fun, they'll say, I have a friend that travels all over the world, and he'll call me up and he'll say, okay, Michelle, where am I? And then I'm like, I don't take out my paper and formally do it. I close my eyes. I'm like, okay, I'm getting this, I'm getting that, The other thing that's different is when we're perceiving, we make it very clear not to name anything. We are perceiving very low level perceptions at first, because there's this whole idea, and which I incorporate, is how our brain works with the left brain and the right brain. And there is a lot of problems when we get into this creativity stuff, because the left brain kind of wants to hijack and pretty much put things in a nice order. It wants to, for example, if I said to you, I'm perceiving something red, shiny, round, you might say, oh, apple. Of course, it's an apple. That would be your left brain saying it's an apple. But what if it's actually a fire truck, red, shiny, round? So that's part of our training, is to
Mhm.
teach us to kind of regulate the left brain and keep that down so that we don't take our own kind of how we see our own worldview and start naming things and creating this whole big story around wrong information. And that's probably a way to describe to people why, a lot of people I'm sure ask you too, like, well, if you're psychic, then how come you can't tell me the lottery? Well,
But are
that's
you
why.
even supposed to use your abilities for things like that? Like, would that be
I
considered cheating?
I don't
Just
think
Um,
saying.
so.
I think it's your own karma if you use it for yourself, because I would never do it purposely. It's just me, I can't. But
You'd,
I have done it not knowing that I was doing it
Yeah, like
at a blackjack table in Vegas, but I was removed from the floor.
you
Um,
were.
yeah, because they thought I was counting cards, but I wasn't. I didn't
Oh,
know what I was doing. I just had that feeling. Just
okay.
had that feeling, that's all that it was. I just thought, here we
Yeah,
go.
for me,
But I
I
think a
guess
lot of people have that and don't even realize that they have that's just like a gut feeling. An intuition a gambler has. That's all that I
mm,
dismissed it as. But
yeah,
this is
I
true.
agree. I actually don't. I really don't have an issue with that because I like to push I like to push our human potential, to wherever it can take us. Um, for me, I think it's about the intention. For me, the intention is I don't feel like I'm a greedy person, but I sure would like to use my abilities to help provide for me, or and I just know that I'm the kind of person that would be helping other people. But now I'm imagining it, what if it's somebody that just is greedy? I guess, yeah, that's like you said, that's their karma.
Mm,
But I definitely would, I know a lot of people really cringe when we say, there's a whole bunch of people using this for stocks, and
mm,
we get paid a lot of time from businessmen to help make decisions on, what they should be doing and financial.
mhm,
But we also get paid from people that are making products that need, like, they have a missing piece in when they're trying to make something and they can't figure out the problem. We can come in and help with the solution to the problem.
mhm.
So it's just limitless. And that's
I
why
don't
everybody in the world needs to be doing it.
I don't believe in labeling anybody for using their ability for that. I just personally can't. Um, I've had that same question posed to me, and I just can't live with myself. It's a different thing. I always say it's Catholic guilt. It's not anything else
Catholic.
but Catholic guilt, right? Like, you shouldn't be doing
Yeah.
that. That's what's happening to me right now in this moment in my life. Because if this changes in 10 years, I don't know. But I also
Yeah,
believe that you can manifest, and what you need will come to you at the time of life that you need it. I don't believe that
Exactly.
everybody needs to be rich as like they think they do. Often people who are looking for big fortunes are really lacking something else in life. So
yeah,
I believe it's a lot of guidance too.
I like
Yeah,
that. That's really
you know.
insightful. I like
Thank
that.
you.
It is
Mm,
true. Yeah. I think, if, because I have come across somebody that comes to my mind right now. He wanted to put a project together for horse racing, and I turned it down because of his intensity about the money. Usually I don't like when people, um, when they want to hire me for a project and they want to talk about the money. I'm like, okay, I trust you. I don't, because if I focus on the money, I get excited, or I get some kind of emotion will pop up, and I don't feel like I could do a job. I might get like, frozen, or, like, just like, oh, I have to do a good job because money's on this.
Yeah,
So
pressure.
yeah, there has to be a balance for sure. you know.
Dolly says, do you understand you're casting your consciousness to where the target is?
Do I understand what?
Here, let me put it up. Can you see it on the screen?
Yeah, you're
Okay, there.
casting your consciousness to where the target is.
Tapping in.
She's also a viewer. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's about intention. So like if I'm the project manager, when I create the project for somebody, say it's a missing person, I use a random number generator to come up with an 8-digit number. And then my tasking, my secret question that the viewers don't know would be like, describe the current location of so-and-so. And then the second part of the question, describe the current condition of so-and-so. And these questions have to be put in a very specific way because it's kind of, I'm setting this intention and really talking to a viewer's subconscious mind. And what we know about the subconscious is that it doesn't understand language. So you have to be really careful. It's like manifesting. When you manifest, you have to be very careful about how you manifest. Like you can't say, I want $1 million. And then you end up with a million deer in your backyard. You
have to be very specific.
You have to be sincere.
Yes.
How many people do you see on the news that say, and they're holding, this was my last dollar. I had nothing left. I had nothing to lose. So I put it down and picked up that scratch ticket, and they get what they need to continue. That's what I mean by, like right here kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you hear those stories all the time. Even people like some of my biggest female women heroes, when they say like, I had a divorce and I had like no money to my name, and then they're like self-made. They become, to me, that's manifesting. That is nothing but that.
Eat, pray, love. She went on that journey. She wrote the book, and she's like a celebrity to women everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely
it's so
agree.
true.
I mean, we can definitely manifest our own lives, everything that comes out of that. People are like, no, you can't do that. It's impossible. You have to deal with the cards that you've been given in life. I'm thinking, no, really, you can.
No, really, you can change it.
This is a thing.
Yeah, you have to drop your control first, though, right? You would agree with me, both
and that's
of you?
hard.
You
That's
have to
hard.
drop the control first, because I've always felt, and I don't know why, but my entire life from when I was younger, I always knew that things were going to be okay. When I was younger, I thought, oh, it's because my father always reassured me I'm always here for you, kind of thing. You'll never be alone and whatnot. But as I got older and I saw the mistakes I was making that I wasn't telling him about, and they were coming out okay, and things were working okay, and I don't have to worry about this decision. I'm just going to go with the flow where it takes me. I have to follow it. This is that gut instinct again we all have that we need to nurture and listen to. I always knew everything would be okay. I think that's part of letting go and manifesting what you need is believing that the universe will give you what you need. And there is so much weight.
It's a lot of attraction too.
Yeah, exactly. And there is so much weight and truth to be careful what you wish for.
You just might get it.
Yeah. That's so true. That I use an example like when I try to explain to the younger, like my kids' age, and I think about have you ever done a cartwheel?
No.
Years ago. Yeah. If I did it now, I'd land on my face. I'd land on my face if I did it now.
Yes. A somersault.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
Yeah,
of course.
Okay. So I use that as an example because I was like, I used to do that when I was little outside all the time. Yeah. And I remember when I started doing my cartwheel, it was in my head going hand, hand, foot, foot, hand, foot, foot. And I had to do that. And you know, now when you look at that as an example and you think about, all right, the first thing I say to myself, I'm going to do a cartwheel. And then you say hand, hand, foot, foot. And then over time, what happens is it becomes automatic. And your all right. So then there's like a whole big thing to explain this, but it's pretty simple. Hold on. Okay.
Take your time. It's all right.
It's just the three of us. We're all friends.
Yeah, it's just us. Yeah.
Us.
Yeah. No one else
No,
has
seriously,
to know.
just breathe.
Everything in your body knows exactly what it needs to do to perform a cartwheel. And I'm talking about this unconscious part of your body that you don't even think about. Your heart knows that it's going to have to beat a little faster. Your small muscles need to know what to do. It's not something you have to think about, but you pretty much just have trust that from the moment you think I'm going to do a cartwheel to the moment that you accomplish it, you get to a point where you just have trust that it will happen. Mm. And you notice that when you do start thinking about it or getting nervous about it or anxious about it, that's when you fall. And so that's kind of like in life, you know, you set this intention and you say, I see myself with $10 million or more.
All right. Let's go with that.
You might want to visualize yourself sitting on that cash. Works.
It's the same thing. I put it out there, and now I just have to wait for the universe to do, you know, like a transformer. It's going to set up my life and put my life in the different form it needs to do and different travel and whatever to accomplish my 10 million or more. The minute I start getting anxious about it, then that's going to hold back the universe from doing what it needs to be doing. And then the answer is, like, somebody might say, well, what if you don't get $10 million or more in the end? Well, you have to believe that you weren't meant to, you know, because it's really not
the intention.
It was, right? Yeah, you get what you need, and you didn't need it. It's never a necessity. I know. That's where greed comes in.
That's where greed comes in. I know. So I have so here's a cool thing. You guys, do you practice, or are you a part of a witch coven or witches or anything like that?
No.
Okay. So I guess I guess I'll tell this story. It's kind of interesting because it has a lot to do with intention and karma. So I think you guys know that I worked with Art Bell as his producer for Midnight in the Desert. And so when how I got that job was kind of a cool story. So I was going through a divorce, and I had to I was a stay-at-home mom for like 20 years.
Wow.
And I had to figure out what I'm going to do. My background was in marketing. I was also a director of musical theater and all sorts of little things here, but I never had the career because I was, you know, at home. And so you too? Oh.
Yeah, I was a stay-at-home mom. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, it's like I was, you know, doing remote viewing, had a ton of friends that wrote books, and I wanted to help them out. And I thought of myself, I'm not getting paid in money, but I'm educating myself by getting back into the world again. So I just would take my friends and call up different shows and opportunities, whatever, call them up and write out pitches and 30-second elevator speeches and just help them, you know, market their projects and books and stuff. So I always say, go big or go home. And so I'm like, hey, this Art Bell guy, I'm going to try that. Why not?
Who dat?
In fact, I think
Bam, there it is.
in the subject line, I think I wrote "Go big or go home." I think I did that, if I recall.
For you.
And I just wrote this whole pitch about this guy and his book, and the producer called me right away, and we talked for an hour, and he was just like, whoa, this guy's great, remote viewing, cool, no. And I'm like, cool. He's like, okay, so right now, this lady, her name is Heather Wade. She's hosting the show. Art, is going to, they're going to be sharing whatever. So we'll call, I'm going to talk to her and then she'll call you back. Okay, great. So a month goes by and I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to work for this. Like, it's not happening. I'm going to have to follow up. And then it was October. Oh, yeah, it's October. And I get a phone call from Heather. And she's like all flustered. And she's like, hi, I'm so sorry I haven't called you. This guy's amazing. But I'm so sorry. It's been, so long. That's not like me. I lost my producer and da, 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 da. And I'm like,
Yeah.
And
I have a solution.
yes, I do. And
Right.
I literally just, I don't know where it came from. Just like, it was like vomiting, but not really. I just went,
You had nothing to lose.
right. And I just went, hire me.
Good for you. Da, 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 da.
And
Finally
she
a
was
girl.
so like, huh? Like, who does that? And she was, she's like, I'll give you a week, and then I'll talk to Art and we'll get back to you. So in 2 days, of course, I called everybody I knew, and I got 2 weeks booked in 2 days. And they were all, guests that they loved. So I guess Art said to her, like, he didn't tell me this directly, but he said, if you don't hire her now, you're going to be in big trouble. So, and that's how I got my job there.
Good for you.
Yeah.
You were the perfect fit.
It was, it's synchronicity. And what I found out later, which is really weird, is that afternoon, 2 things happened. One was that she was interviewing someone, and that person kept calling her, keep calling me Michelle. And it didn't make sense. So the name Michelle was like popping up in her head all day, that it only was a matter of time that we would actually be talking,
right.
to a Michelle or whatever. So that was really, really weird. And then, so we were working together, and she is a witch. And I was always like, I don't know much about it or anything like that. But I mean, she seemed, like, I don't know. I just, the Hollywood version of witch.
We're freezing like crazy. Yeah.
Are we good? Okay.
Yeah.
It's, Thanksgiving. So, so I was having trouble in my divorce situation, and, I called her up and I'm like, yeah, my ex is, giving me some trouble and this and that. And she's like, okay, this is what you're going to do. And I'm like, well, what? She goes, okay, get a water bottle, pour a little out. She goes, do you have anything with his signature on it? And I'm like, close it up and stick it in the freezer. I'm like, okay. And I'm thinking, I'm not doing this. Like, okay. And so I just, listened to her and whatever. And then that weekend, he did something that made me really mad. And I did it. It was a Saturday night. And it was like 2 a.m. I go downstairs. I followed her directions. I stuck the bottle in the freezer. And I get up in the morning, and there's a message on my phone from him. And it says, Michelle, I'm calling. I just want you to know that somebody broke into my car and I have to freeze all my accounts. And I'm like, freeze. He like said, freeze all my accounts. I'm like, oh my God. I run to the freezer. I take it out. I'm like, I'm sorry. Because the karma. I'm like, so no, I take it back. No.
Oh, yeah.
I took it out. And I'm like, boy, that worked fast. Like, you got to
No
be careful of that
coincidences
stuff.
in life. Michelle and I always say there are no coincidences.
No.
No.
That was
For every action, there is a reaction. That's one I use also.
It's so scary. That scared me. I was just like, yikes. Yep.
It's the same thing with moving energy. You often are asked, have you ever thrown energy at somebody you don't like? No, because it's coming back to me. So you really have to think that one through. And it takes a lot of restraint and discipline not to. Because I'm not going to say I never did, but I don't practice it,
Right. Yeah. Sometimes if you get out of control, and then you didn't mean to, it was like a split second thing. But, that's
to
the
be
thing is you
disciplined
can't.
with it.
It is.
That's why that was just like one of the first things I learned.
There's a price to pay for everything. There's a price to pay for everything.
You'd be too.
Doesn't matter what it is.
It's too easy to do.
Anyone could do it if they could understand how. And then what? You don't need nuclear bombs. You don't need the threat of war. You don't need there's anything could happen. You have to use it for the good. And I really believe in karma. Very much so.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely, and it's like, if it doesn't happen in this life, it'll happen in another life. So it'll get you.
Yeah.
There's just, and I think, I think it's designed for balance. I think that's one of the most important things that we need to create in our lives is just balance.
That's a key to life. Yeah.
Because I think, a lot of people come to me asking, why did this happen? And why is this not going right? And this and that. And I think, I answer them in one word, which is contrast. I think that's what it's all about is that it's about contrast. You can't feel how good can feel if you don't experience how bad can feel. Balance. And so you have to have that contrast to understand everything, feel everything.
It's balance. You have to have it. Right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Well, so that's the logistics. And, I always say the common sense of everything. But you can also have a lot of fun with remote viewing and abilities. And have you ever gone in? I say like aliens. You've worked with abductees and such, and you get to go in and like see aliens, have conversations, or catch them in the act, kick their ass. What do you do?
Kick ass and take numbers.
You don't have to answer in that order. Just whatever.
Yeah, I think we have done. I did a session, and the subject was Bigfoot. And that was really interesting because it was one of why it's so memorable I probably have done at this point thousands of sessions, and that one I learned the most from. And what I learned is confidence. And how I learned confidence is that I had a monitor, and they're trained that they can never lead you into what you're talking. They're just supposed to, they're very good at what they do. So I'm sure that it was really hard for him when he was monitoring me. But I think what the first thing that happened was I started getting a subject, but the overwhelming thing was that it was a female subject. But I can't get over the fact that this female was a giant. It was huge. I kept saying like a basketball player. I kept like feeling like the arm was like I'd look at my arm, and I'm like, no, you know, and I wanted to change my opinion, you know, again, that left brain with the logic.
It's like
If it's
second
big,
guessing.
it's got to be a male, right?
Right.
But I stuck to my guns and I said, no, it's a female. It's a big woman. Maybe, you know, it reminds me of a basketball player. And so my monitor said, okay. Stand up. You know, he always wants you, you know, and I want you to touch your body, you know, blend with the subject and touch your body. And I'm, you know, feeling my arm and I'm like it's so hairy. Like I have a lot of hair. Again, I wanted to change it to a man, but I'm like, no, it's a female. And we kept proceeding through the set. And then finally it kind of dawned on me, it's Bigfoot. And I kind of said that you're not really supposed to name things, but I couldn't help it. I'm like, I feel like it's like a Bigfoot or some kind of, you know, something like that. And so he said, oh yeah, he goes, your target was the Gimlin Patterson footage, if it's a hoax or if it's real. And so, you know, I really felt that it was real because I couldn't change my mind. They say that it was a female Bigfoot and I couldn't change my mind to male. And I feel like for me to be stuck on that is, you know, says a lot. And so I think it's not a hoax. And I think that it was a female. So that was kind of a pretty fun one.
That would be
And
fun. Do you ever go into known spots where you know they are and just tap in to see if they're of this
I
earth or are they from the stars or what's your opinion on that?
I never looked more into Bigfoot.
Right.
But the aliens, I'm definitely, definitely very curious about
Have
aliens.
you done it?
So, yeah, so a couple things that were interesting was more, for some reason, I wasn't really getting too much of the actual aliens, but their crafts. For some reason,
Oh.
I'm drawn to the UFO, the thing, and which was interesting because somebody gave me a target of the Tic Tac one that was recently in the news. And I described it and I sketched it out and says everything you have on here with all the, because I had this impression of this structure that reminded me of a hamburger because it had 3 layers to it. And I don't know anything technical. Like I'm lucky. I just put the key in the car and drop. Like, how does it go? I don't know.
I don't build the car, just get in it. Yeah.
And I was getting all these like weird, like how it works. And I don't know. Said this looks a lot like how Bob Lazar back in the day described what he saw. And I'm like, Bob Lazar? Like, how did I have no
why Bob Lazar of all people?
I don't know. So they are trying to put it together that they think that this Tic Tac is somehow connected to the one at what's it called in
Sorry, you keep freezing. So if we look confused, it's because we're losing bits and pieces of you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's funny. It's when you're giving away details about
I
work.
know. It's like somebody out there is just playing with us.
No coincidences with saying.
It's probably Chicago because it's cold and the computer's like, forget it. Forget about
it. Give me a blankie.
It's cold here too. We also did, I started to tell you and I forgot to finish because this was really cool also. way back when we were doing Homeland Security hired us to look at the Olympics. So I think it was like a year before the Olympics. So the Olympics were supposed to happen in 2020, right, in Japan. So first thing is we were double blind. That meant that we didn't even know who was hiring us or what the target. We knew nothing. They just gave us a number and said, just do this. So I started getting impressions of some kind of, I kept perceiving it as like weather, but there was like debris everywhere. Maybe like I didn't feel like an explosion, but it would be like the end of an explosion, like debris everywhere. It was a land and a water interface. And then I started going into this like computer virus, something going on with computer viruses and whatever. And we handed in the session, found out it was Homeland Security asking, what are the top threats for the Olympics in Japan in 2020? So we handed that in. I forgot about it until we're in the middle of the pandemic. And I started thinking, oh, wait, the Olympics never happened. Why? Oh, a virus. Wait, I said computer virus, but it was a virus.
Wow.
So I was like really excited. I'm like, and that's a problem is like, sometimes you don't even figure out what you're getting until after the fact.
But you were dead on because there was a lot of miscommunication with computers because there were files hidden. So you're not that far off. It's all on perspective on how you read your read, so to speak.
That's true.
So,
that's true.
Yeah, you were dead on.
Wow. See,
perception.
Yeah, it is.
Definitely perception when you work in crime. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you tell me something, when you work with, you work with detectives?
I had always a mediator, but there was a couple of detectives. I mean, everybody knows I worked with Bobby Brown.
Okay. So just curious, have you had any experience where you're working with them and they already have a preconceived notion of what happened? And when they talk to you, they're actually kind of make a lot of assumptions. And then sometimes when you get your information, it doesn't jive up with what they're saying. Did you ever
I don't know about the other ones because, like I said, I worked with a mediator. My work went in and I never spoke to them or met them personally. I found that is the best way to work, to be honest, is to remain as anonymous as possible. With Bobby, I can't discuss how anything happened, fortunately, because there's still ongoing cases that I have nothing to do with, but they're still ongoing and I don't want to be liable for speaking. But yeah, I never dealt with them. I learned the hard way. I learned working with parents when their children were missing and bringing them home that you need to have someone in between you and them. It's the best way to work, and it's the cleanest read, in my opinion. It's the cleanest read. The water isn't dirty. You don't go in with any presumptions or any, if you speak to the parents, you may have a preconceived notion of what that person is like, and that's going to affect your read, and it shouldn't. It's about the missing person. It's the missing child. So yeah, I don't believe in working with them, and law enforcement is notorious to not get back to you.
Yeah,
that's what they're known for.
I just had this particular situation where they presumed that it was a missing child, presumed that the child was dead, and also presumed who did it. And based on this kind of story that they came up with, and I was getting something contradictory to what they were saying, and it was really hard to communicate because they have been working on this. Their intentions are so amazing, but I think they get caught in, what they think they know, and then they get, stuck to it. And then when they end up having us come on board and we're coming with new information, that is a problem.
But that's what a case is constantly and continuously new information and new leads. That's what they thrive for, because when there are no leads and it's cold, you're not going to solve the case. But often it can look like someone is a suspect. All you can do, anyone who works as a psychic, a medium, or a remote viewer and gives information to the police, all you can do is give your information. As I said, make sure you're a mediator, because you can be looked at as a suspect when you have information that leads to a conviction. You can be looked at as a co-conspirator after the case. You have to be very careful. So what you do is you just give the pieces. We're not the puzzle. We're not the ones that put it together. We just give the bits, and it's up to them to do their job and do what they're trained to do. That's all you can do, is give your information. You could be reading something that is another case they're working on, and you could be picking up something entirely different. Or if there's a serial killer, there's a pattern, you could be picking up another victim. So you just don't know unless you're in the room with them, which they don't permit. So,
Yeah. These guys were working on a case that's like 10 years old. And
super cool.
And then they reached out, and I felt really, we came up with more information, but I was just very, there was some of the things that they said, which we had, a different situation because they were talking directly to me. And I didn't really say anything, but like, for example, he thought a behavior was suspicious. Like he said, the mother had a 3-year-old who had an ear infection and was driving around for hours trying to get the kid to sleep in the car. What kind of mother would do that? I'm like, me? Like, I mean, to get my kid to fall asleep, I can't tell you how many days I'd be driving around to get them to fall asleep. But he, in his perspective, thought that was suspicious. And I'm like,
he has a reason to think that. I don't want to be rude, but are you allowed to be discussing this right now? I don't want you to get in trouble.
No. It's, I'm okay.
Yeah, sometimes it's just, there isn't a fit. Sometimes you can't save everyone, and it happens. I mean, he has a reason why he sees it suspicious. He's looking at a past and many years of a behavior. You're looking at that moment. So it all depends what you're reading. Yeah. Are you reading that moment? Are you tapping into that day? Or are you tapping into her lifestyle?
Right. Exactly.
There's a lot of people that drive their kids around in a car to help them sleep. But is that something that she would have done? They have a reason for not accepting it, or they're not telling you something because they can't.
It's possible. Right. That's more. They probably didn't tell me everything.
You can never work a case like you did and expect any information from them. It's not going to happen. If you're looking for validation, you're not going to get it.
Right.
The case has to be closed first.
Yeah. This was just a weird situation. And something that I don't normally.
I know. That's the whole thing with working cold cases. You have to be able to accept that you're not always going to have answers. And all you can do is give what you get and move to the next one.
Right.
You never know what you give can help.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you can do.
Right. Yeah. That's agreed. For sure.
I'm just listening to you guys.
Yeah. It's one of the reasons I don't do it anymore. Just saying.
Yeah. I know. I think, it's the same thing. Like,
it's frustrating. It's very frustrating.
Yeah.
What
I don't really love, and it's but there's so much to do. There's like so many other things to do, and
I think the thing is with viewing, or any of your abilities, you're going to have the hard things, you're going to have the fun things, and you're going to have the things that you enjoy doing. Is there anything specific that you haven't done, maybe that you would like to, or that
in remote viewing? You mean?
Yeah.
Any ability. You're intuitive as well.
Yeah.
You know, I'm hoping, well, there is something that I've always wanted to do, and it looks like it's going to start happening. It's just using remote viewing for really unique things and fun things. So
What kind of unique fun things?
well, this one I don't think I can talk.
You can't spill the tea on this one.
It's not. It's a very unique idea. This woman came to me, and you know, over the years of teaching my class, I have about, I would say, 7 really good passionate remote viewers, and I feel ready to, if people want to hire us for projects, I feel confident that, you know, we could do that because they're exceptional. So this one woman called me up, and she is starting, I think I can talk about this much. She's starting an online book club.
Oh, that's cool.
But it's like historical, it's historical reality, you know, like JFK and, you know, Howard Hughes, all that. And she wants to intertwine or weave in remote viewing for part of their discussion groups, so that if we come up with some different answers to some of the questions in our remote viewing, this will kind of start a whole conversation going.
I just turned down a TV series about that like 2 years ago.
You're kidding.
Oh, I guess there's a lot of people floating that idea around. But
that's amazing.
But from an investigative standpoint, not so much RV, from an investigative standpoint. So
yeah,
you know, because the dead will speak, right? So
right, yeah. I
kind
thought
like
it was
Jeff's book.
Who?
Jeff Mudgett, kind of like his book.
Yeah. I think it's just a great, fun way to use remote viewing. I like, we use it also for health and wellness. There's a way to tune into someone's body and locate different issues. And sometimes someone will come and say, oh, I have this knee problem. I can't use my knee. Something's wrong. And then our intention to remote view them would be, what's the origin? And it's interesting because origin may not end up being the knee. It may be something else. So that's always exciting to work on.
That is exciting. That is. Have you ever remote viewed JFK, the shooting?
I didn't
for fun.
No. I haven't, and I think it's because a ton of remote viewers have done it, and I try to do like different ones that they haven't done. Are you guys familiar with the Baltic Sea anomaly?
Of course. Yes.
I have my class every session. Well, now if anyone wants to take my class, I'll have to change it around. But every single class, we look at that because I'm fascinated by it.
It is really fascinating. Out of place anomalies and things like that are just mind blowing. But that one is, I don't know. What do you think it is? I think it's something that's almost like petrified. It's just something that's definitely a craft of sorts.
Yeah, we were getting man-made. It was a man-made structure.
Did you get that? Yeah.
Man-made structure made of metallic. And I did it first before I brought it into my class, and I had a whole, probably like a story I built around it, which seemed very similar to what we would think about the people that lived what were they called again?
Okay, we have those moments every day.
Atlantis. That was
it.
Right.
I had a sort of connection to Atlantis in my session. It was like really weird. It was really weird.
Yeah, because a lot of people will think it's some sort of an emulation too. You know what I mean? Of something that they've seen. It's really, I mean, as far as Atlantis goes or Lemuria, was it even there? I mean,
before you
that's
guys
a Baltic
continue,
Sea.
sorry to interrupt you because Dave's asking what's the story of the anomaly guys, just before you guys keep going deeper into that.
Go ahead, Michelle.
What it is in general?
Yeah.
Yes, that's what he's asking because he just joined in. Yeah.
Okay, it's a structure that they found from a satellite deep, deep, deep in the bottom of the Baltic Sea. And the shape isn't something normal for something natural. And so there was a team. Do you remember the name of the team? There were two guys.
No, I don't.
I'd have to Google that.
There was like a documentary where these two guys, they got a bunch of sponsors and they got one of those rover thingies that can go very deep.
Remote vehicles.
But they can only have it for a certain amount of days because the money ran out, and they could only get to a certain point. Obviously, it's like
some people say it looks like a big craft, like a big UFO.
It does. If you look it up on look it up on Google Images, just say Baltic Sea anomaly.
Yeah.
You'll see it, and then you tell me.
We covered it on the Gray Zone. Yeah, on the other
you
show.
guys and your team believes it's something to do with Atlantis?
I did.
Okay.
And the people that have remote viewed it have been getting crystals, and usually when I get crystals, it's usually a UFO or something. There's something about the energy of crystals that keep popping up for me every time I remote view what's in Antarctica. We were looking at Linda Moulton Howe's story, and we have a lot of data that agrees with what she's researching.
The pyramids and
and a lot of this crystal energy that is,
which is very significant for the floor of an ocean or a sea. There are crystals.
There's a lot in the Baltic Sea.
Yeah.
The Russians had so many extraterrestrial experiences in there.
Yeah. No, I'm saying crystals. You'll find that at the bottom of any water source, like salt water source.
Here's Dave's theory. I guess he looked it up.
He is so funny. Well, he said, now I guess I know what I'm researching tonight. Ha, ha, ha. I'm going to say it got subducted. What?
Yeah, subducted under a tectonic plate.
Under a tectonic plate? Yeah, it looks like it got stuck. Yeah, it does look like that from the picture. I agree with that.
Subducted. Thanks, Dave.
He'll figure it out. He's he'll dig.
I'm teasing him. We've had him on this show.
No, it's true. He'll dig. He'll dig. So no.
Yeah, I mean, this stuff is just, I had a woman on the Art Bell show, and she was one of the only women that was able to go into that cave in Mexico with the big, huge crystals. Actually, selenite. And, they're as big as like buildings or
I have selenite in my home. Yes, I love it.
It amplifies everything.
Oh, it's so beautiful, though. It feels like velvet. Yeah. I call it Superman crystals. Like when he goes back home, my cousin, I didn't coin that. My cousin did. But now it's stuck in my head. He's like, oh, it reminds me of when he goes back home and you see the scene with his parents.
It does look like that.
Love selenite. It's my favorite.
So she went into the cave?
She went, and it was very dangerous. It was 100% humidity. So you can only stay in for a very short amount of time. But she did the lines, and I met this other group of guys from the UK, and they're going, before the pandemic, they're going to travel around the world to all the locations where people have had UFO, they have seen a UFO or, a big event.
Mm-hmm.
And so I talked to them and I said, I wonder if, these selenite crystals or any crystals, along with the ley lines and then the UFO, like these 3 levels, I wonder if they're all connected, because
It's all energy.
right. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe these UFOs that are coming on purpose to those specific locations because they're energy areas.
Power spots.
Yeah. And that would be a great research is to, when you go to those locations, go look down, look underground and what is under there,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's
I
interesting.
agree. Station sponsor ID, do it. Yep.
Yes, it is. You are listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and myself, Amelia Pisano. Our special guest tonight is the amazing, the incredible, the fabulous Michelle Freed, broadcasting live from the beautiful city of New Orleans, night before New Year's Eve. Oh my gosh, Thanksgiving. Sorry, Canada, we had our Thanksgiving like a month ago. I'm pushing the holidays, people. I'm pushing the holidays. But happy Thanksgiving to all of you that are at home listening in right now with your families. We are live on 105.3 FM radio. We are United Public Radio, and we are streaming right now on UFO Paranormal Radio Network on YouTube, as well as International Public Radio. Our intro and outro is courtesy of the award-winning Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon composer, Justin Snicker, who you'll also hear his voice coming in and out on both ends for us. And that didn't come out right either. Can we read to I hate live. I'm telling you right now.
I played the outro before the intro.
Okay, then
I am not the
so
person
sorry,
to ask.
Justin. So when we end, maybe Michelle will play the intro, but we're going to play the outro again. But anyways, if you're interested in his music, because he is so fabulous and unique and award-winning, please go to Bandcamp or go on Amazon. You can find him on Facebook. You can find him on Instagram. Again, Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon. And of course, from the beginning until this day, and we hope forever, thank you, Folgers, for sponsoring us every night right here on The Outer Realm. Yeah, kick me now.
Yeah, it's been one day.
It's one of those, it's a week. No, it really is. It's a month. It's a month. I'm not going to lie. I'd be happy to see November go. But yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, stage is yours. So out of place anomalies, specifically the Baltic Sea anomaly. Do you ever feel like going back in time and trying to like every time I travel, I've been fortunate to travel to many amazing places in the world. And there's just nothing more rewarding than being able to pick something out. Whoa, here we go, Dave.
He found something. Okay,
we're gonna get back onto this as we're still on it. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. It could be for those listening.
Yeah, it could also be a former valley before the Atlantic Ocean flooded it. I bet the Baltic was all dry at one time. There is a very narrow bottleneck where Denmark is. It's a similar situation how the Pillars of Hercules are a bottleneck in the Mediterranean was once dry too. You're quick, Dave. You're quick, Dave.
Do you want to take my class? We could.
I know.
Dave's already in astrology and a bunch of other stuff.
You gotta contact Michelle.
Yeah, contact Michelle, Dave.
That's awesome.
That's why we put him on the show, because he was in our chat room like this, and we're like, you need to come on. So
he's a lot of fun.
That's the thing. You have to have kind of an intuition in a way also to kind of look at these things, like a bigger vision than just what's in front of you, a bigger picture knowledge of things. So yes, I'm like a cat.
Yeah, we're well aware. We're grateful though, Dave. That is amazing information.
Oh, you just make it so much more fun.
Yeah, he does. He really does. He's a lot of fun.
That's great.
There's a lot of places like that in the world that are just.
There are so many. I mean, there are just so many. I don't know. I'm trying to come up with something.
You could probably do a different location every class.
Even the pyramids.
I've been to the pyramids. Yeah, they're like.
Even the pyramids, what it's like if you look at it face value, like how we grew up,
Mhm.
we were taught this kind of one layer of information. And when you start asking more questions,
Mhm.
then you're like,
wow. Thanks,
wait,
Brian.
how can that be?
Right.
And that's that's the big question. When you talk to, the everyday people in the world and you just go, who
Mhm.
built the pyramids? They just go, they don't take it one step further. Like, okay, you're just taking for granted that like 1,000, 100,000 people, I don't know how many people were there, and they are schlepping across the desert these tons and tons of bricks,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
perfect alignment to fit perfectly, and they don't have any of the tools we do.
Mhm.
How do
Have
they
you
do that?
have you ever asked a scientist that question? Because they actually have an answer for it.
They do have an
They have
answer.
an answer for
There's
it
a
But
using
lot
the
of
Nile
people who
River.
have different
Yeah.
theories on the pyramids. I
Yeah.
mean, we've had a gentleman on a couple of times, and he's just like, no, it was a water pump system. And he's got amazing stuff to
maps.
back it up. Yeah.
There's
Amazing stuff to
there's a
back
whole
it up.
documentary on how they used the Nile River and they trenched out this water and they put these the way they move things, it's all physics. So
right,
it's a really tough battle if you're going to sit across a scientist and have this who studies physics and have this conversation with. It's a lose-lose situation because we're saying no, this is how it happened. People come down from the skies and they move this, and then the physicists are saying, well, wait a second, you move it this way, and then the reason why it's so smooth or it fits so perfectly is worn in time over the years of
That's right.
weather. So
Yeah.
there's an argument on both sides of it.
yeah,
That's a tough conversation unless you're like-minded. It's
Mhm.
not
right,
gonna it's not
right.
going to end
There's
well.
there's going to be
Yes,
always two stories like that. But to
always.
me, the thing that blaring for me is that the that it's so consistent. Like, even having those tools and being so primitive, and using physics,
Mhm.
we're so consistent. Like, how is that possible? There's like no
Mhm.
mistakes. Do you know
But
what I
the,
mean?
Yep.
there's so many pyramids in Egypt. When I was there at the time, they were already uncovered close to 100 of them, and there's so much more
That's what Tamara's
under
saying.
the sound like has never even been seen. Technology and such, now they're starting to catch all kinds of it. But I mean, the Great Pyramid, of course, is the wonder. And I know to Dave's question, what's the king's chamber for? Not the king. I have been in it. I've just been in the sarcophagus, but there's a lot with that, with the whole energy thing. Some people have gone into that chamber and have had like unbelievable experiences. In fact, I think Freddie Silva was on our show, and
I think it was
Freddie
him
did
and
have an
another guest
experience
that
in
we
that
have.
chamber.
Yes,
So
he did. He
there's
did.
that whole pyramid power thing too, right? Where there was that whole movement in the 70s. People are building pyramids in their backyards and trying to get the
Yeah.
whole,
Starting again.
yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
just a whole
Yeah.
thing
It
going
was a
on.
whole
But
backwards approach to spiritualism in the 70s. It was a weird
I know,
approach.
but
But
there's
there
so
was a lot of
many,
recreational drugs going around then too.
yeah, and there's so many theories as to, some people say no, extraterrestrials had a hand in it. Other people will say, yeah, some people are like, no, they used sound to be able to move these large stones, put them in place. But you're right. I mean, there's not even a hairline crack between them.
Look at this. There's all different. If you look at our chat room, there are all different opinions and views. See?
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
Edgar Casey talked about the
Yeah,
King's Chamber.
yeah.
Dave's
Yes.
asking what did you have to go into the archive, Dave, and listen
Oh,
to Freddie's any one
yeah,
of the
because
shows
it's
because he
really
talked about
detailed.
it. I
This is
think
stuff
on
he
all
does.
three.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. I
and
believe it's
Dave
yeah.
also says, "I believe it's Stargate." I agree with
I
William
believe that.
Henry.
I
Yeah,
believe that a lot of ancient structures as we know them were built over power spots. And the church came along and built their churches over top of some of the old temples, pagan
yeah.
temples and such. Definitely. I agree with William
And
Henry on that one also.
why can't it be? Why don't we ever say it's a little bit of everything? It's a little bit of ancient civilization, physics, and the aliens teaching us how to use those things that we see and use every day. Why can't it be a combination
There
of
are
them saying
2
this is the
episodes,
best
Dave.
way? There's 2.
I
Guess I'm watching that show tonight too, Amelia. Yeah.
Our
Just
remote
go to
viewers,
SoundCloud. Yes.
our remote viewers are, obvious, they don't know what their target is. Whenever I give them the pyramids, water comes up, they get water and they get power, energy.
Mhm.
And that always boggles my mind.
Yes.
There you go.
Mexico City is a church over the pyramid. A lot of places do.
Yeah.
Well,
Even Italy and Europe, you'll find them as well.
here's a question, Michelle.
Mm.
You said that when you were there visiting and they haven't even finished digging up anything. Has anybody thought about this theory about Mars, that that there were people that lived on Mars?
Mhm.
There could be very deep, just like in our desert. If we were able to dig there, what would we find? Because we have Joe McMoneagle,
Mhm.
who has a very famous session that he did
Mhm.
on Mars, talking about some pyramid structures.
Yes.
And you
Yes.
can look on YouTube to find his whole discussion about his session, which he did before we got the photos from Mars that
Mhm.
shows these pyramid
See them.
structures over craters.
They're the same,
Right.
right? The
And he
lineup,
even
yeah.
drew a picture of some kind of subject,
Mhm.
non-human subject looking thing.
Yeah.
So that also makes me think, when you brought that up, I thought, well, we haven't even finished uncovering what's here on Earth.
Mhm.
We haven't even started on Mars.
No.
They're already talking about that there was water there. There could have been life and something happened.
Mhm.
I don't know. So that's
I
possible.
agree. No, I absolutely agree. I know that even now if you look at the pyramids of Saqqara, like when I saw it, they were just touching on what was on that whole site. And now it's completely opened up. They've done the same thing with Giza. They've discovered, apparently, depending on what you read, a whole subterranean like space under the Sphinx. Like, this thing goes forever. It's apparently this really big anomaly. And, again, depending on what you read, but that might be something worth remote viewing, because apparently it's pretty bloody spectacular for what they'll tell you or let you see of it. But Mars is, and there's even some on the moon allegedly, but the same sort of structures in the same formation. So are you dealing with, a past civilization, that's just sort of moved its way around the moon, the Mars, or Mars to the moon, or they don't even believe the moon was ever here. They
Not
believe the
3
moon was
times
brought
fast.
into our system.
The moon to Mars, the Mars to the moon. I'm like,
Mars, the
say that
moon, the
3
moon,
times.
Mars,
I
Mars,
just,
Earth. Yeah.
oh my gosh.
I know. Right? The Hall of
Wow.
Records is under the Sphinx. That's what they said.
Yowza.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Michelle knows
Wow.
everything about Egypt.
I know
Yeah.
lots.
Yeah, she does.
Do you
She knows a lot
do
about a lot of
you think
things.
you
I'm
had
like,
a past life there?
Absolutely did.
oh,
Yeah,
guaranteed.
I've had that all looked at already.
She is guaranteed.
Oh,
Guaranteed
yeah.
more than one.
Oh, yeah. I've just, I don't know. It's just being there in person, and you feel that connection. I had to look into it.
Yeah.
I always knew the connection was there from the time I was a child, but going there and experiencing it, I wish I was as versed then as I am now, because I think it would be an entirely different experience.
That just means you need to go back, Michelle.
Yeah, maybe I'll do one of Freddie's tours.
and
Freddie
take-
Silva goes and
And
brings
take
people
Bubbles
out.
with you.
Take Bubbles with me. All right, Bubbles,
Yeah.
we'll go.
Bubbles has no desire to be there, but I wonder if there's a past life reason why I don't want to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can
Oh,
remote view
Wes.
that.
Cleopatra, Michelle. Hi, Wes. Michelle
Thanks,
is the
Wes.
Cleopatra
I love you too.
of
Yeah.
Canada. We just love you, Wes. Hope you had a great trip out west, Wes.
Oh,
Dave
What?
Petrella, it was just to hear. I'm glad that we still have people. I thought we would be losing chatters tonight because of Thanksgiving, but I'm glad
yeah,
that they're still
everybody's
here.
right on board.
Yeah,
Everybody's right
they're
into it.
great. They're great. We have the best audience.
We do.
How long does it take to make a pumpkin pie?
How long? I don't know. I don't get to make pumpkin pies because nobody in my family likes them but me. So I'm always the one going, did you make
She's the food
pumpkin
guru. She's the
pie?
one to
Did you
ask. I
bring the
do not cook if I
pumpkin?
can help it.
But I'm the one looking for the pumpkin because nobody eats it. So I make the
Nobody
other
in my
stuff.
family likes crust. So I had to figure out how to make all these pies without crust.
Well, that's
Crust
easy.
is
Can
the
you
best part of
imagine?
the
Just use
damn
like a
pie.
graham crust.
Graham
right?
crackers.
Crumbs,
That-
like cheesecake, like
Yeah.
That's what
cheesecake.
they are. Yep.
There we go. So
Yeah, that's not the same thing, you know. Like the
No,
crust
it's
is
not the
the
same.
crust is the, you know what? Make it with the crust. I'll fly in because the only thing I eat is crust, and we've already had our Thanksgiving, so I'm ready for another one.
You can
I'll
just
fly
eat
in and
yeah,
I'll eat the
crust.
crust.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's a
yeah.
deal.
Tell your family, don't worry, Amelia's got it.
Oh, good. They
I
just
hate
eat the
having
middle.
a dog because he shares. Yeah, I have to share the crust on pizza, the crust on pie. That's all he eats. I'm like, this isn't right. But anyways,
Oh my gosh.
So talking about past life, do you ever do any of those for people?
Oh yeah.
Tell
That's
us
got to be
about that.
popular. Yeah.
That's right. We didn't
Um,
even touch on hypnosis.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there you go.
So because I put you in a trance to only talk about remote viewing.
I go under like this, Michelle.
Just kidding.
That's not even a
does.
joke because that's how
She
fast I
does.
go under.
Not a
Oh
joke.
really?
Oh, I'm one of the easiest people in your life to
What can I
hypnotize.
do with you?
You can do it on the phone. I'm terrible.
I have let's see. Yes. So I guess this is kind of cool. I had 3 people in 3 different parts of the world call me up at 3 different times,
Wow.
all
Three
claiming that they were abducted and they wanted to be regressed to find out what happened.
Okay.
It was within like a 9-month period. Okay. One was in Canada, one was in California, one was in Chicago.
That's also a straight line.
Oh, it's
Canada,
like a
where?
It depends where in Canada.
I
Where
don't
in
know.
Canada?
I don't know. But
How did
okay.
I know it was a straight
That's
line
interesting.
then? I'm wondering.
But it doesn't.
Okay.
So each and what's really so I put them in trance, and usually I kind of go in with my intention is I don't know. I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to bring them into trance, and and usually in the back of my mind, I'm thinking they had a dream and it felt real, that kind of thing. In this weird situation, all 3 of them had exactly the same experience. They all describe being on another planet and living or existing in water, like they were breathing water, and the vegetation was something they've never
Always
seen.
Information.
And the colors, they couldn't even describe the colors that they were able to see. And those were like the dominating features of each one of their experiences. And I was like, this is incredible. Like none of these people know each other. They were at different times. And it was really, really
Might
weird.
have been on the same ship.
Or on the same planet, or they were it was a past life where they were an alien living on this planet.
Do you think that let's say Grace, for example, do you think they're a different civilization that maybe has been here all along, or do you think they're the future version of us, the evolved version of us?
I do feel like they are the future. I go with that one.
Yeah. You know what? I remember doing a communication. I spoke about this on one of the past shows I think I did with Joe, but I was testing a piece of equipment and it speaks and it came through, and I was asking and I could hear like this sort of like clicking sound a bit, which they do, and they basically, it was just a very straightforward message, said, we are you, you are us, we are one. I was like, wow, all right. We'll leave that right there.
Man, that must be shocked because you just froze.
Yeah, you froze. So yeah.
No, it makes a lot of sense. Like if we had the technology now, wouldn't we want to go back and warn people about certain things, the Holocaust, or, you know, certain things going on, to don't do this? You know,
I
we
would
talk
think
like,
so. Yeah.
oh, no?
No, I do. I
Oh, you
agree.
do? Oh,
But it's like trying to go back in time because there's this evolved version, you know, and we primitive folk are looking at them going, you know, like it's frightening to us. Meanwhile, we're looking, you know, at maybe ourselves in the future.
right. And in remote viewing, when we do that kind of remote viewing where we're going into the future, we're peeking into the future to
Mhm.
find out, let's say a sporting event, who wins the game. We're
Right.
literally going into the future and sending that information back to the past,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So it's like
Yes.
a feedback loop, right?
Mhm.
What if we could do that for ourselves and tell ourselves, don't do that? What if we could do that?
Hey,
Where we could say,
there's stories of
don't
people
make that
doing it.
decision.
What's
Don't
the
marry that guy.
Look at George Lucas. Some people believe that he somehow went forward, whether it be through remote viewing, time travel, time slip. Some people say that they did it and handed himself the script from the future to the past, hence because he knew it would be this big conglomerate, this big mecca, and hell, it is. This is
Wow.
a
Back to
real
the
big
Future?
thing. That thing's huge. That whole theory. I'm just kind of like,
That's a huge conspiracy theory.
I know,
It fits
but
right
here's the
in. It
thing.
does fit right in, right?
well, there's a
But
lot. There's a lot that goes back with that.
Yeah, I know.
But here's the
Butterfly
thing, we
effect.
proved it. We proved we can do it
Yes.
because we did an experiment.
Right.
It's published in the Journal for Psychical Research, where we used our dreams to
Yes.
predict a future outcome,
Mhm.
and we had a 62% hit rate. We actually made money because I mean, we only bet like $100. It wasn't. It was
Hey,
for
doesn't
science.
matter.
Well,
Don't
you
sell
want to
it short.
you
That's a
want to test
thing.
the theory small.
It's
Right.
a thing. Yeah. Achievement.
But we were doing that. We were going into the future and sending information back into our dreams. And then we would wake up in the morning and do a session, and, you know, and it was working. So it's
Right.
possible that George Lucas did that because
Maybe.
we're
Yeah.
proving that we do it. We can do it, and you can do it. Everybody can do it.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
But
Yeah.
you
It's
know what?
scary to think of if we all had that power. Talk about
But I think we
wanting to
do.
depopulize the world,
No, it's
because
true.
then you wouldn't have cancer, you wouldn't have anything,
To
right?
turn out dormant strands of DNA.
Oh, yeah.
That could be through
Through
vibration.
vibration. Yeah.
Yeah, vibration, frequencies, all of that. See, like we are a more advanced species than we give ourselves credit for because we can do so much. But, you know, it makes you just sort of wonder, has it just been so suppressed or oppressed in us by what they put in the food, the water? They don't want you as an evolved being because then you can't be easily controlled. And it is all about vibration and frequency, all of it. And
Yeah.
crystals, right there, Tamara's got a good point.
Crystals are
Vibration is
huge.
one of the things they use.
That's what
with
makes
crystals.
your watch work.
Exactly.
Right. Right.
People are like, how's that possible to power anything? I'm like, you've been wearing one on your wrist for how many years?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
We
and
forget.
also they use diamonds in computers, don't they? And
Right.
gold and
Mhm.
Yes.
all that stuff. So all these things are, you
Mhm.
know, energy. We're
Yeah.
energy. We're electric.
Natural power. That's right.
We know how to do the electric slide.
Exactly.
It's I don't. It's funny how
How can you not?
I
They
always
give you the directions in the
I
song.
always get lost in it. I get lost in the beat and I'm everywhere but where I'm supposed to be. I am always amazed that, speaking of metals and gold, that gold can walk through security at an airport, but yet stainless steel, silver beeps. So you have to wonder, how pure that form of energy is that's solidified there that you're wearing on your neck or on your finger or on your ankle, your wrist. It's just incredible. It's just really incredible.
Yeah. There's just so much. There's, so much, like, Nick, that's his name. Have you interviewed Nick Begich?
No, but are you going to send him over?
Yeah, sure. Yes, I will. He talks about, he's from Alaska, and I believe his father was a senator. I'm not sure if I'm right with everything. And he, I think he died in a plane crash, but they never found the body.
Wow.
So there's a little suspicion there. Right. But his topic is about how, like the Wi-Fi and all the sounds that we don't necessarily hear.
Right.
So he uses an analogy like, in the neighborhood when all the power goes out,
right,
you kind of hear it go whoosh, and then it's like silent. Right. And we can notice it, the silence. And he said that it's kind of like that noise, that background noise that we're not aware of is confusing us, because if we are in meditation, we're at, I forgot what hertz is meditation. The perfect meditation is a certain amount of hertz. And this background sound is all the way like up to 80 or something. And he goes into all that, explaining how we're walking around completely confused.
You're going to be booking Dave at shows.
You do? Oh, do you know anything? Maybe we can remote view that too. That's what I do all day. When people ask questions, I'm like, let's remote view it. Let's remote view it.
I'm so glad we could facilitate that connection for you, Dave.
Oh, why not? Make a list.
We've even done, you asked about past lives. I targeted my students to go to a past life and bring back information that will help you be a better remote viewer.
Oh, I would love to learn to remote view the way you do it, because it's so different than the way I do it. I probably suck at it though.
I can't imagine you would.
I think I would, because I'm not used to being like disciplined to the point where I have to do it that certain way. No,
because it's natural though for you.
Yeah, it's a little different.
You're just like I'm there,
Yeah, but there's, I worked with people a lot like you where that's how they are. And for them, the information comes in so fast. But there are techniques that we teach
of course,
that can embellish what you already do.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Like one thing I can say, sketching things out, because when we sketch, it's almost like me neither.
You say sketch? I have an FBI program to do the composites of the sketches of the perpetrators.
It's like
because I slap so bad. And my family, my last name is Pisano for a reason. My family built Pisa, and I can't draw to save my life. That's why I was laughing when you said it. I'm like, sketch. You lost me there. You lost me.
Yeah, I drew stick figures. But I have these little arrows explaining what everything is. Because I don't think it's like this is a house. You made
I could draw a house.
With Mr. Sun up.
A triangle with a square below it. Yeah.
I'm not known for my drawings. Just ask Bobby.
It's like, here's an example. So I had a student, and his target was a photograph of a bridge. No, sorry. There was a photograph of a train in a horizontal position. And because when you're doing a session, you're in trance, and
only when you talk about remote viewing. You see that? Freeze,
what?
Freeze. Only when you discuss remote viewing, you're freezing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Government people, chill out. chill.
Tamara says she could teach you both how to draw. She's actually an artist.
Oh, so are my Tamara.
See,
You know
that's what I
what?
need a
Someone for
class.
everything.
You're very blessed. And my nieces can draw. It just skipped a generation with my brothers and I. And like it skipped our generation, but yet our children, not my daughter particularly, but a lot of my nieces and my cousins' kids are extremely gifted as artists. Like, I mean, extremely. You look at it and think it's like a real person, like a photograph rather than a drawing. They're incredibly
they don't
gifted.
need
It
little
just
arrows
didn't land here.
describing.
It didn't land here. That's all.
Funny.
I can paint, but I can't draw.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You can remote view painting. That would be interesting.
Never tried that.
That would
I
be
don't.
cool. We use
I don't know,
Play-Doh.
Just
Michelle.
do
Do I
finger
have
painting.
the time? Do I have the time? Michelle, can you give me a day off because I want to paint?
No. No.
But so this guy, so the target was a train, and on his paper, he drew a vertical building, or he called it a building. But if you turn the paper sideways, it looks exactly like the train.
Yeah.
And well, that's what really happens when you're in trance. Your hand just does it. It's tuned into the target, and you're not aware of it.
It's just interpretation or misinterpretation, right?
Yeah.
That
Exactly.
makes a difference.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So you need to be working with someone to basically say, no, it's this or this or this. You know,
Yeah.
she'll see things. I tap into her and I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And she's just like, you know, I tap into her to the point where I can hear her heartbeat or race or whatever. And there's just like, go left or go right, or I feel this or this or this. And,
Oh,
and
neat.
she'll
If
come in
I'm
and she'll
too,
say,
if I'm too
this or this.
focused, I'm in danger.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
I
wow.
do need. I can't do it without Michelle. We
No.
work well together.
Well, at least not for that.
We work really well together.
But it's
Yeah.
just it's a lot different, but I think it is definitely about interpreting what you're seeing, because if you don't do the proper interpretation, you're sort of like, you might not figure that out right away.
Right.
Especially
No.
when you're looking at weird demonic stuff.
Or she'll see
I
something.
don't
I'll
have
go, blah,
the
blah, 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 blah.
history.
This is what
Yeah,
it is.
Do you
I don't
guys
know
like-
the history where Michelle does, and I'll say, well, it looks like this, and then she'll say, oh, I know exactly what that is. So
Do you guys will you hear someone go, Michelle?
Oh,
Or,
I
you know,
hate
like a
that.
whisper of each other. Oh, you do
I
it?
hate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have
Do you
that
like
a lot.
that?
what kind
Like
of
a-
voice are we talking about here, though?
No,
Just-
nothing demonic.
I've
No,
had
just
things
like
say that to me.
yeah. Well, because my friend Deborah that I mentioned before, she is so psychic, and sometimes I'll hear Michelle, and it's like I know it's her,
Oh no, it's
like trying to talk to me or something,
I
or
don't
she's
know if
listening
I'm
in.
that lucky with it being somebody that I actually know, because it's happened to me many times in my life. And one time I was in Romania. It was right in my ear at 6 a.m.
Ugh. No.
I'm like,
Oh, you just
That's creepy.
What time is it? It is 6 freaking a.m. It's like, I'm just like beefing it, you know. But then I thought about it afterwards. That's actually very cool. But again, it's like,
What is
Yeah.
that?
no,
Yeah.
I get the crackly crack
I've had that.
Crack.
Yeah.
gargoyle like
Yeah.
things calling my name.
Yeah.
Oh, like creepy stuff.
Hmm.
Just since working with Michelle. Before that, I never had.
You're welcome.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Don't
I
say I don't give
forgot-
you experiences.
I've forgotten to thank you. on
Don't
that
say I
one,
didn't
but-
give you anything.
Yeah.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
It's not just an education. You get friends too.
There you go. You're never alone. So,
You're
it-
never,
it-
I'll
it's-
never forget the
it's
first time I
interesting.
heard that voice on the box. I'm just like, now it's like, go away.
So
Yeah.
it's all in the mindset. But I guess it all is. All of this is mindset. Right? In
Yeah.
a way.
Yeah. That's have you guys astral traveled?
Joel, you got to give Michelle Frieda a show if you're listening, because she's got some great questions.
Joe knows Michelle. Everybody knows Michelle.
No, but he needs to give her a show. Has he thought about that? She'd make a great host,
with her own network.
No, seriously, Michelle, have you thought about it? You'd make a great
talk
host.
To Joe. Yeah. We
I'm not
are
joking.
10:58. So this is the part of the show. We're already there. This is the part of the show where you tell everybody how to find you, what you have coming up,
how
blah,
Dave can
blah,
contact
blah, et
you.
cetera, et cetera. Yeah. Then I get to play the outro again. Can't wait. It's great. So,
okay.
I want you to hum it. I think you should hum the outro.
No.
Synthesized. That'd be really hard.
It would be really hard. Yeah, it's really. Yeah. No, I'm not that good.
You're a guest. You do it. We don't want to take that pleasure away from you.
I don't think I caught it coming in.
Wow, you guys are so generous.
We love you, Michelle. Honestly, it's such an honor to meet you.
Oh my gosh,
Finally.
You guys are so great too.
Thank you.
I just love, I mean, Michelle said it's, just casual. We're just going to chat and,
this is what everybody compliments us on. It's like, oh, it's so relaxed. I was so nervous.
Why? So scared.
What you're nervous about?
Yeah.
There's two of you. I'm scared. It's like,
it's
man, chill. We're really relaxed.
Yeah, I think it's, a lot of times, a lot of people, and I'm sure a lot of the people listening to the show, the people in their lives, go cross-eyed when you want to talk about these things. Like my family can't stand it when I even say the word, I can't even say energy, and then I'm like talking about the light switch, and they're like, I don't want energy, like anything, anything you talk about, they're just with the rolling of the eyes, which I tell them, they'll get stuck if you keep rolling them.
Yeah.
Especially when I smack you.
It's fear. Right? It's fear.
Yeah. But here is a place where, which I love, you create this whole society with everybody listening, and as you have people writing and asking us questions, it feels like a big warm hug that we all are thinking the same, and we're all, having these challenging discussions to make us think, like, say things, that I need to think about, so I can be better. And
we learn something from every guest that comes on. That's the idea. We try to give you as much time to speak as possible. We all want to have fun, and the chat room gets really involved, and it's really
I love
good.
it.
A lot of comments that roll through. We obviously can't get through them all, but we try to bring up a few. But how do people contact you? Do you have any classes coming up?
So if anyone has if anybody has more questions for me about remote viewing or anything, my website is butterflyeffectscenter.com. So butterflyeffectscenter.com. And there's a page there all about remote viewing. It shows all my published experiments and things like that. I have a class coming up January 15th, and it's Saturday at 12 Central Time. If I get a lot of people that join the class and they can't make it Saturday, I'm flexible and we can switch it to people's schedules. The price is $415 for 6 weeks. Okay. And I don't want to turn people down. So if people are having trouble paying the $415, they can pay in, a little at a time. Or, if they really, we'll have a talk about it. I just don't want to turn people away. But I'd like to also make, some money to pay some bills,
Gotta eat, people, gotta eat.
Yeah, but it's so important to me. If I was independently wealthy, I would never charge, but soon because I manifested the 10 million or more. So
Right.
when that happens,
There
okay.
we go. Intention. It's all about
Yeah.
intention.
The
So,
classes are
your web.
online and we use Zoom classes online, and they start January 15th. So let's see what else. I think that's it, really, right?
Yeah, website.
Yeah,
That's
she
Butterfly
gave
Effect
that.
Okay, got
Center.
it. Okay.
.com.
Okay.
Say it again, Butterfly Effect Center.
Butterflyeffectcenter.com.
Okay.
Yes.
This
I love
is
that.
good. This is a good thing. All right. Well, darling, thank you. It's been a slice. And honestly, we'll have to do it again sometime. I'd love to do
That would
that
be
in a year.
great.
Have a
Sounds
happy
good.
Thanksgiving. Send me the crust.
We're going to send you crust. Can you imagine an envelope with crust?
I'd be checking it for anthrax if I saw that. I'd be like, what?
I'm crazy enough to do something like that too.
I'll send you my address. I'm crazy enough to eat it.
Okay, we're on.
All right.
You're the best. Thank you.
And
Mwah.
Thank
jobs.
you.
Okay. Good
Bye,
night,
guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, we have come to the end of another fantastic segment here on the Outer Realm. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. Big thank you to Michelle Freed for just being plain awesome. And thank you to Folgers Coffee for sponsoring us, to Dr. Snick, aka Justin Snicker. Please remember to subscribe to the YouTube channels. If you want to drop us a line, go to the Outer Realm Contact at gmail.com, the Outer Realm Contact at gmail.com. And tomorrow night, we've got Marisol Smiley coming onto the show. She is an abductee experiencer, contactee, whole 9 yards. It's going to be a really great segment. In the meantime, for those celebrating Thanksgiving tomorrow, happy Thanksgiving from us here at the Outer Realm and United Public Radio. And for those of you who can make it tomorrow night, we would love to see you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And we shall see you tomorrow.
You have been listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano. Airing live every Wednesday and Thursday evening, 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 to 10 p.m. Central, on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.